as it dawned the morning, there was thunders and lightning, a thick cloud settled on the mountain. The people trembled as they heard the voice of Elohim's own words, the sound of the ram's horn blasting. You shall be a kingdom of priests. You shall be a...
Shalom Aleichem Mishpachah. This is Todd and Tamara with Paradigm Shift, and again we want to give all glory, honor, and thanksgiving and praise to our Father, Yahweh, Yahuwah Elohim, who sits in the heaven of heavens, with our King, Yeshua HaMashiach, sitting at the right hand of our Father, waiting for His enemies to be made His footstool. And the biggest part of that has to do with Mishpachah, is us coming out of the strong delusion and returning in Teshuvah to our Father, Yahuwah's feast and celebration days. His Shabbats. They are not Yehuda's Shabbats. Judah's Shabbats, the Jews' Shabbats. They are not Christian Shabbats and feast days. They are His. And they are one and for always and forever and ever. And they are immutable and unchangeable, just as He is and His nature and character are. So anything other than anything added to or taken away from that is an idea of man measured out by his reasoning and understanding, and especially defined for us by the keepers of all knowledge, the occult ones, the ones that keep everything hidden, that practice the occult, hiding things. And why do they do that, Mishpachah? Because of the gatherers of knowledge and having the control of media over 90% of the nations of the world. They can present their one world order, their one big idea, as George Bush Sr. was so eloquently quoted, and he spoke his own words as President of the United States. And as Kissinger and all these other little lackeys of the royal money changing elite that own the Federal Reserve banking system around the world, and who orchestrate the economics, the politics, and the wars, and the movies and the media that you see every day to define who you are, what you're up to, and where you are headed, because you have rejected knowledge. And what's the rest of that? You've rejected knowledge.
Therefore I will reject you.
And He
I reject you
us.
for being a priest for me. Since you've forgotten Torah, I forget your children. That's Hosea 4:6.
He forgets our children, and he says onward that the same thing's going to happen to his people that have forgotten His Torah, have gone away from it. We will be consumed from within, and in the end, we were going to be eating our babies. Eating our babies, just like they did in Jerusalem before Jerusalem fell. And that is coming to the world again today. It's coming to the whole house of Israel first. There is many people that are speaking out, that are watchmen over the past week, that have been getting this word, and this is starting to come out with great pressure, that the idea of that this nation is going to fall with the economic collapse, and that we're going into a military tyranny. We're actually already in a hidden martial law. You've already been taking it like doses of small amounts of poison, to where the point is building up into your body, and one day it's got you.
That's right. And you know what a lot of people get lost in is this mushy Christianity where you're not allowed to be angry. And the truth is, if you aren't angry, then you aren't paying attention. This is a time to be angry. There are things to be angry for.
Hate evil.
And so that's right. And we are definitely watching atrocities being committed constantly. Now we're commanded that in 1 Peter 1-13 to prepare our minds for action, to keep sober our spirits, to fix our hope completely on the grace that has been brought by the revelation of Yahuwah. We are also commanded in Luke 21:36 to watch at all times, and to pray that we're worthy to escape all that's about to take place. And 2 Chronicles 16:9 says that the eyes of Yah are diligently searching the whole earth to show Himself strong on behalf of those whose heart is perfect and loyal to Him. And so that's really the key, is that we have to humble and turn from our wicked ways. That's 2 Chronicles 7:14. Now, what we were reading to you on Monday's show, we're going to continue on with that here. And what we're showing you the point of is that in Isaiah 5:20, He says, "Woe to those who substitute evil for good and good for evil, or light for darkness and darkness for light, bitter for sweet, etc." Well, that's exactly what has been put right in front of us. It's been put in place on a nice little serving tray, a platter, right in front of us, the difference between good and evil that we have no longer been able to discern, and they are actually promoting it as good when it's an abomination in our Father's eyes. And we have to make that transition to stand, to be willing to recognize what has been presented to us and no longer allow it to be part of our mindset. This is a paradigm shift. He's doing that to us on a regular basis. It's almost like desensitizing a young colt. He's doing that to us through life.
That's right. He's desensitizing us. And the first process and steps, when the baby first comes out of the womb, doesn't matter if you're talking about a human baby, a dog, a horse, a colt, whatever. The more you handle it, the more you teach it the right and proper way to go, the less fear that colt will have when it grows up to be an adult. And it requires less training or less reworking and breaking down of that animal in order to give it a good and tov way to where it will best interact with the world around it that it's in. And you do this by when the colt comes out, you wrap its head around, you rub all over it, you give it all kinds of scary noises. Why? To trigger fight or flight instincts that are in all of us.
And then teach it that it doesn't have to fly. It does
not have to run. We do not run when nothing is pursuing us. It's only men driven by the greatness of their own understanding and the pursuit of knowledge for the sake of knowledge is the reason why we are driven and pursued. And we feel like somebody is pursuing us when they actually are not.
And so it's very important that we accept this training Abba is giving us right now, because very difficult times are ahead, and there's so many of us that are wrapped up in our own little worlds, and our love has grown cold for one another, and we would prefer to blame and point fingers at each other and tell each other that we're not doing good enough than we would to try to find ways to work with each other. And if there is this community living that we're approaching as we get literally herded into small camps, our lives on the line, we will have to overcome those things inside of us. We have to do it. We cannot. Do any of you want to out there? Do you plan on being Korah? Korah, the man in the camp who pursued Moshe to the point that Yahweh had to open up the earth and swallow him and his tents.
They were going to murder Moshe, and Yah was right there with them, and he was the one gathering them back right there before, and everyone could see him and knew his works and everything. And here we are today trying to return in Teshuvah to our Father and return to His laws and right rulings, and so that we can see that good is not evil and evil is not good, the way that they are teaching us and inundating us with confusion and all the ways that they do that. I mean, so how does any one of us believe as a man in any shape, form, or fashion that we have the way that people should go in order to be a community, in order to be one in Yah? As soon as we quit going about Father's business, then Father will bring us about doing His business.
Yes.
We have to stop trying to attempt to make every man an idol of our own image. And that is the fault of every man in history, and that's why a man cannot rule man himself and cannot rule the world in righteousness and in security and peace as they promise.
Okay, and so where we left off with that article is we were talking about DNA and the mixture of the DNA, the fallen angels mixing with human women, and Nimrod was actually a Nephilim, and he was ruling, he ruled over and he built the Tower of Babel, and that this world that we're about to finally perceive and be able to see that's hidden from us is a world that is ruled by transhumanists. People who are mixing and taking the human DNA to a new level, which is combining it, splicing it, and we actually have an article here about the world's first genetically modified babies that were born. They're a year old now, and what they're doing, and so we're going to get into that. So I'm going to finish up this article real quick. Where we left off is we were talking about the deception about what Nimrod's wife did to the people, and how when she killed him and she cut off his phallic symbol, and then she impregnated herself through, I'm just going to read it here. She covered her tracks by telling the people that Nimrod had risen to the sky to become the sun god Ra. Since she became pregnant through an affair after his death, she told the people that she became supernaturally impregnated by the phallic symbol. Thus the obelisk is a phallic symbol, and a dome can represent the womb of Semiramis in the architecture of ancient civilizations.
And that's why you see that in every city around the world. You see their pillars, their obelisks, like the Washington, D.C. monument, and you've got the Capitol building, which is the giant womb, and then you have the president who sits there up above there in his inauguration day, and what they're doing is they're incarnating, chanting, getting the people to focus on one idea and a ritual on their ideas that they're promoting, and everybody clapping and cheering, and that spirit of self and power to this one man goes into that president.
You think that, these sorceries are just women dressed in black robes around fires on on full moons. No, they're right out in front of us, and they are literally using the stars above to guide when they decide to do their
That's
rituals.
right.
Everything is set up on
As
a
they
clock.
align.
And so all right, so let me continue here. In America, there is the Washington Monument, which is an obelisk and a phallic symbol. And the nation's capital is the womb. This is mirrored in Vatican City. But understanding this part of the code is essential for understanding the New World Order. Nimrod was a Nephilim and a type of Satan. Babylon comes to life again as a whore in the book of Revelation. The phallic symbol monuments and the dome monuments are a reminder that there must be a supernatural impregnation. The seed of sperm from the fallen angels will impregnate human women once again. The New World Order is predicted in the book of Revelation, along with the one world government, one world economic system, and one world religion. The head of this world system is Lucifer, who rules through the Antichrist. The world falls under total scientific mind control and occult power through the false prophet. At a specific trigger point, the true God will return with the armies of heaven and begin the war of Armageddon against the Luciferian forces. This war will be a multi-dimensional conflict and involve interdimensional beings.
But
and the book of Daniel talks about it too.
Yeah, and Father says the only way this war is going to happen, it's going to be triggered, is just like in the days of our people when they were in Egypt. Until we understand that we're in captivity and we start crying out for the one who created us and does all the signs and wonders on the earth that is going on. He allows these wars and these rumors of wars. The earth begins to erupt with volcanoes, split open with earthquakes, tsunamis and storms, things falling from heaven in the sky. This is only the beginning of the birth pains. You have to go into captivity first. We have to go into captivity first. Our people went through the first 3 plagues in Egypt, and they're going through it again. And you're almost at the point where you're going to have the boot down in your neck, wide out and open, and they're going to orchestrate to the point of where you're going to be willing for that boot to be on your neck because of the event, the big event that Henry Kissinger talked about, that we would accept UN troops happily and cheeringly because of the event that happened that Ronald Reagan talked about. If aliens from another world came, how soon would all of our differences dissolve away? These people are serious. This is a president of the United States speaking this stuff. This isn't Todd and Tamara making this up. This is the Catholic Church speaking this stuff. This isn't Todd and Tamara making this up. It isn't anyone else of these other researchers. And what I mean by researchers, all we do is research what is already still out there. They are the keepers of knowledge, and they are the occult ones. They keep everything hidden. Why? Because if you can do that, then man does not know where they come from and where they are going, and they can dictate it to you and feed it to you however they would like it to be fed to you.
Actually gather you in chutes, just like you do with the cattle. They can just pull you and push you and guide you exactly where they want you to go, because they're the keepers of the information, and we are imprisoned in all of our ignorance. And that's a very valid point here, is that this is our leaders that are telling us this. And this boot on our neck is not, Revelation, yes, it is a time where we're going to wake up to all the lies around us. And one of the biggest lies around us is the people out there who think that they can have hatred in their hearts towards their brother while walking Torah. That right there is part of the reason why the book of Revelation has to come and the boot has to come down on the necks. Because the hatred is anti-Torah.
It's because of the trauma-based programming that they do. Everything in our culture is designed to hurt somebody else, that we are to look at other people and envy what they have, and so that we can use our lives to pursue the material possessions of this world in order so that we can have the peace and security that they tell us that we will obtain, because intelligence and knowledge is the highest pursuit of man on this earth. You go to you send your sons and your daughters, and you've gone to the universities, they come out 70% non-Christian of the Christians that go into these things, and they come out pursuing what? The debt monetary slave system that they orchestrate and control the belly of the world with.
Egypt.
And unless you get their type of intelligence that they offer, you're not going to be able to participate in their system. And it's going to come down to the black and white point that everybody knows that you're going to have their chip, their mark, in order to buy or sell ultimately on this planet. And it's coming very quickly. We just had the Boston quote unquote Illuminati massacre, fake terror, false flag, bunch of BS. And so they get that, and then they have done nothing but continually cause more terrorism in this country, and then hyped up the wars over in Israel and Syria and Iran and with China and Japan, and they keep telling you the story that these are different flags going against one another. No, these are the occult kings and queens of the earth who work out these matters in secret, channeling from spirits to get the lying wonders from the author of confusion, their father, in order so that they can raise up the sons of the dead Nephilim to continue to plague man, to get them to vibrate in the right frequency, the right harmonics through music, through the way they think about their daily lives, the way you think in your heart towards one another. And this brand of Christianity or any type of religion where you sit around and you say, oh, peace and love, and oh, I'm just in peace and love, and while the whole world is going to totally destructive around you, your whole nation is imploding, and you're doing nothing because you only want to hide within this idea that you've created about what safety and love is in the walk of whatever God that you are following, calling Jesus, Yeshua, Buddha, or whoever else you want to call it on this face of this planet.
And that's the key here, is that they are putting a spell over us. They've cast a spell over us, and they are just
allowed by Father.
They're just continuing the incantation, and the Book of Revelation is going to separate the dross, the sheep from the goats. Mm-hmm. You know, and the best thing that we know and understand is it's all about the heart matters. It's all about what are you thinking about your brother. Your conscience serves your king. Whatever your conscience is doing, it's serving one king or another.
There's only two kingdoms that you can serve, and that is the satanic kingdom of lies, or the Yahweh, Yahuwah, Yeshua, our King and High Priest kingdom of truth. It's what sets you free, Mishpachah.
So for all of you out there who think that Genesis 6 is just a story and not reality, and that these things are just totally outlandish ideas that there could actually be any kind of genetic modification or Nephilim seed being inseminated into women, and there being giants roaming the earth that have supernatural powers and demigods, and that, Greece and everything are just lovely stories. Well, on May 6th, which would be Monday, Daily Mail Online, which is a very popular website that sends news and stuff. It is. It just shows you all of the violence and everything going on.
Part of the Rothschild are, and they own 90% of all the media in this world.
And it's important to know what they're putting out there. And what they just put out there was world's first genetically modified babies born. Now, we brought to you, at least 6 months ago, that this is all, we already know that this has happened. Now, but the key to this article... 50s. The key to this article is that these babies aren't just babies anymore. They're humans now. And so I'm going to read a little bit here. The world's first genetically modified humans have been created. It was revealed last night. And so this article went out on May 6th. So they're saying May 5th. It was revealed that the world's first genetically modified humans have been created. The disclosure that 30 healthy babies were born after a series of experiments in the United States provoked another furious debate about ethics. So far, 2 of the babies have been tested and been found to contain genes from 3 parents. 15 of the children were born in the past 3 years as a result of one experimental program at the Institute for Reproductive Medicine and Science at St. Barnabas in New Jersey. The babies were born to women who had problems conceiving. Extra genes from a female donor were inserted into their eggs before they were fertilized in an attempt to enable them to conceive. Genetic fingerprint tests on 2 one-year-old children confirm that they have inherited DNA from 3 adults, 2 women and 1 man. The fact that the children have inherited the extra genes and incorporated them into their germline means that they will in turn be able to pass them on to their own offspring. And I'm sure they're very excited to see what their offspring are going to look like. Altering the human germline, in effect tinkering with the very makeup of our species, is a technique shunned by the vast majority of the world's scientists. Geneticists fear that one day this method could be used to create new races of humans with extra desired characteristics such as strength or high intelligence.
So they're giving you reasons to desire this, and they already have got the world wooing after this with all the movies, X-Men and Iron Man, Superman, Spider-Man, Captain America, Wonder Woman, etc. So that what they've got you to doing is they've got you quit believing in giants and the old idioms of old, or the ideas or the memes of old, like the Grecian pantheon or the Roman pantheon or whatever, because each of those fail and the lie is uncovered and the people won't buy it anymore. So then what you've got you believing in now, that you won't believe in giants, but you'll believe in aliens.
Or you'll believe in support this new genetic modification.
That's right. It's the new meme. It's new wrapper on the poop. You served it up to you again on your porch. It's flaming, and you're going to come out and step on it.
Writing in the Journal of Human Reproduction, the researchers, led by the fertility pioneer Professor Jacques Cohen, said that this is the first, this is the first case of human germline genetic modification resulting in normal, healthy children. Okay, that part really freaks me out, because how many cases resulted in not normal, healthy children?
That's right.
Just have that in your imaginations, Mishpaka. This is very serious.
Do your research. Since the 50s, they've been cloning people. That's when they first started doing it, along with all the other technology that you see being promoted to you today on TV and promised to you today.
And one of the most horrible movies out there is the Aliens Resurrection movie, where they actually show you the cloning process and all of the different ones that didn't work.
That's
and
right.
They were still alive, and they were begging to be killed. I mean, this is right in our faces.
Yep.
Let me go on. Okay, so Britain is saying, this wouldn't be allowed in Britain, and they're surprised it was even carried out at the stage.
Oh, sure they
John
are.
Smeaton, the director for the Society for the Protection of Unborn Children, said, one has tremendous sympathy for couples who suffer infertility problems, but this seems to be a further illustration of the fact that the whole process of in vitro fertilization as a means of conceiving babies leads to babies being regarded as objects on a production line. Well, my little insert here is, why the heck are we aborting so many babies and funding this and promoting this with Planned Parenthood? Why bother if we have to sit here and actually make genetically modified babies for those parents who can't have babies? I mean, this can all be simply solved, but
people can't even think anymore, just like they can't even think in their right brains. I mean, it's just so simple, Mishpaka.
In a further and very worrying step down the wrong road for humanity, Professor Cohen and his colleagues diagnosed that the women were infertile because they had defects in tiny structures in their egg cells.
In the
called
name of
mitochondria.
infertility, we're going to do this.
That's right. So they took eggs from the donors and they used a fine needle, sucked some of the internal material containing healthy mitochondria, and injected it into the eggs from the women wanting to conceive. Because these mitochondria contain genes, the babies resulting from the treatment have inherited DNA from both women. These genes can now be passed down the germline along the maternal line. Let's see. I think that was the biggest part of this article that I wanted to read.
Okay, so, basically you got one big idea given by George Bush Sr., and you got one big event given by Henry Kissinger. You got Ronald Reagan describing that big event. You got Mr. Changeman Barack Obama bringing that event to head today. You got Christians in the military now. You can't even speak about Jesus at all, or you will be court-martialed, and it's tantamount to treason today. So you've got this man, Barack Obama. He's one who comes in his master spirit of lying, stealing, killing, and destroying and murdering, devouring as a lion through the imperial powers of the Germanic-controlled Great Britain. One big event is all they need to promote as their solution, their one big idea of collectivizing all the will of men unto one towering idea of their forefathers of Babylon. They purpose to release Satan from the pit of hell by using all men. As men become corrupted through the lies of knowledge coming from the keepers of all knowledge, every man's torment into confusion is increased through their tricks and fear. As men begin to yearn greatly for a solution, they gain more power as more men turn to the rulers of their lands.
And I just wanted to interject right here that this Jacques Cohen, he also has developed a technique which allows infertile men to have their own children by injecting sperm DNA straight into the egg in the lab. Prior to this, only infertile women were able to conceive. Well, last year he said that his expertise would allow him to clone children. That's a prospect that's treated with horror by the mainstream scientific community. But this is what he said. It would be an afternoon's work for one of my students, he said, adding that he had been approached by at least 3 individuals wishing to create a clone child, but he had turned down the 3 requests. They're so laissez-faire about this.
Yes, they are. They're doing a lot of doublespeak in this article, because while they say they've got the Institute in Great Britain and they say it'll never become a law, then why is the research going on there? Because they're telling you what they're doing. It's actually what they have already done and what they're about to introduce to you after the alien people come down to destroy these New World Order bankers that they're now letting you know about, and the societies around the world are beginning to collectivize to understand that it's the banking powers over them that has caused their troubles.
Sure, let's get all experimentation done in the United States so that Britain can continue to sneer down their nose at the United States like they're not part of it, just like they used Germany to go ahead and do the final solution to execute millions of people so that we can later look down our nose at them and then use them to put a picture on evil.
That's right.
That's what the evil is defined as today, is Hitler. That's going to be the trick, Mishpaka.
That's the trick. And what this thing's going to come in, it's going to come in the form of Judeo-Christianity in order for the people, and Islamicism. But overall, when it comes down to it, it's going to be Islam, and the heads are going to roll, because if they can't change the minds of the people seeking Torah Messiah, then that we are the biggest threats on the planet Earth to them and in the universe, because it only takes one of us, Mishpaka. And Yeshua HaMashiach.
Or 8.
Or 7,000 would be great.
Please.
Yeah. So keep looking up, Mishpaka, everything.
I'll read.
Remember the Sabbath day, keep it holy. Respect your